the way that prisons are set up in our society, I would argue that they do not work. They do not make us safer. The instinct is to just take that person, the source of that harm, the source of that issue, and then just throw them away. Put them in a cage and throw away the key. And that doesn't address the reason why that harm was created in the first place. A lot of times, people who create trauma for others are those who themselves went through trauma earlier in their own lives.
Right.
And I bring all of this up to say that, you know, again, like when we talk about policing, I don't think the system actually makes us safer. I think what it does is it just removes problems out of view. I was at the press conference yesterday. They said, can you tell us who your aunt is, who you were referring to? I said, yes, this is my aunt. This is my Zerafui. This is my father's cousin, and this was her story.
So how can you convince New Yorkers if that is the type of person that you are, in other words, that you don't tell the truth?
Well, it's not a lie. My father's cousin is my aunt. That's how I referred to her growing up my whole life, Zerafui. And I think to have the takeaway from the New York Post and so many others after I gave a speech outside of a mosque for 10 minutes about the Islamophobia we've seen in this race and in our politics, to be the question of whether or not Zerafui was my aunt.
We came here to remake this state in the image of our people.
The truth is there's a quiet civil war going on in the Democratic Party right now. You have an extreme left, radical left, Bernie Sanders, AOC, Mamdani is just the banner carrier for that movement, versus the mainstream moderate Democrats. They now call me moderate. They used to call me liberal. Now I'm a moderate because the whole party shifted. And that's what this election is about. It is that civil war. I believe that far left will destroy the Democratic Party. I believe it will destroy the Democratic Party nationwide if that far left becomes dominant.
Boy. So we got to talk about exactly what I predicted just a couple of days ago when I talked about woke New York Governor Kathy Hochul deciding to bend the knee to the far left extremists of the Democrat Party, right? Bending the knee to AOC, to Bernie Sanders, and to Zohran Mamdani, which is that in a general election, this is not going to play out well for her, even in a state like New York, okay? And we're getting some evidence of that. We got to talk about a shock poll that has come out basically showing that this endorsement of Zohran Mamdani is probably going to backfire on Kathy Hochul. But first, we got to talk about why, okay? Because there are a lot of reasons why this is going to backfire. The first reason is because of the fact that the far left, they do not like establishment Democrats like Kathy Hochul, okay? Kathy Hochul is seen as too moderate, even though she is far left too, right? The far left extremists don't think that she's far left enough, okay? And again, this is why she was heckled, okay, and essentially booed at the freak show rally that happened in New York City. And she had a hard time really coping with the reality of the fact that these left-wing lunatics that she's bending the knee to, they don't really like her like that.
Given the reception you received last night at Zohran's rally where people were chanting, tax the rich, are you going to hold the line on raising taxes, even if it means losing an endorsement or getting a primary challenge?
I couldn't hear what they were chanting. I thought they were saying, let's go Bills. I wasn't sure. I mean, when you're up there, I heard some noise. I heard a lot of cheers. But later on, it became clear to me that I know there's passion for that. I mean, I went in there as the leader of the Democratic Party, whose job it is to unify behind the Democratic nominee. I love the energy out there. I told them that. And I want to do is bottle all that up, use it in a few days, but take that to Long Island and the Hudson Valley and make sure that we can stop the insanity that's happening now while we're in the minority, while we don't have the power, the levers of power in Washington. I want to win back the House through New York. And what I saw in that stadium was refreshing and energizing to know we can harness all that, to be on the same team, and to make sure we can do a lot of great things for the people of this state and indeed the country. So, no, it's a great event. I enjoyed being there.
So would you change your mind about taxes?
Because of that event?
Because of that and
I'm having a lot
about
of conversations about
him endorsing you.
Well, I didn't ask him for his endorsement. That's the only reason he hasn't. They want to know my timeline. I said, let's get through this election. Let's let the focus be on your race. I have a lot of time to roll out my endorsements, of which there'll be many that I'll be proud of. So that's unrelated to the event. I want to be there as the leader of the party and say, we have a lot of voices in this party. Let's pull it together. Let's win this election and on to 26.
Great, thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Appreciate it.
Now, here's the hilarious part about this, right? Kathy Hochul put herself through that humiliation ritual because of the fact that she thinks she's going to get that endorsement from Zohran Mamdani, right? But I'm here to tell Kathy Hochul, I don't think she's going to get the endorsement because the far left, they're probably going to run a freak that is more far left than her, okay? Because there's no way that she can be far left enough for them, right? In their minds, she's already tainted, okay? She's not pure enough, okay? So again, all of this groveling to the far left, it's not going to make a difference, right? Because, again, these far leftists, they're going to try to primary her ass.
Mamdani also declined to endorse fellow Democrat Kathy Hochul for re-election on the debate stage after she endorsed the Queens legislator in his run to lead the nation's biggest city.
Who supports Kathy Hochul for re-election?
It's a decision that should be made after this general election in November.
Why don't you endorse her?
I appreciate it.
How about a shout out for Elise Stefanik to take out Kathy Hochul?
It's no secret that the Democratic Socialists of America hate the Democratic Party.
I think we're all on the same page that we hate the Democratic Party.
The Democratic Party is not really our friend. It isn't.
So why are the DSA such major players in the Democratic Party? This odd relationship can be understood with the cuckoo analogy. In nature, the cuckoo survives by trickery. It lays its egg in another bird's nest. The unsuspecting parents raise the imposter as their own, until the cuckoo grows strong enough to push the true chicks out. The DSA is the cuckoo inside the Democratic Party.
DSA is not the Democratic Party.
We must separate ourselves from the toxic Democratic Party.
We can put forward a clear, aggressive, principled strategy that pushes back against the Democratic leadership and the Democratic Party as a whole.
DSA candidates run as Democrats in safe blue districts. They slip through low turnout primaries. And once inside, they use the Democratic label as camouflage while advancing an extremist anti-American agenda far beyond the party's mainstream.
I don't agree with the Democratic Party, but it's a great tool.
The Democratic is a tool that we use.
Once in office, DSA candidates take orders from DSA's internal enforcers and working groups. City halls and state houses start running as socialist machines controlled by the organization, not the Democratic Party, and certainly not voters.
They have to have a connection with DSA's internal politics, and they have to be committed to the eventual goal of building a separate entity from the Democrats.
DSA are revolutionaries, and the Democrats are their first victims. And in city after city, DSA victories prove their plan works.
I think that the model that we used in New York is 100% replicatable.
And just like the cuckoo, once the DSA grows strong, it pushes the true Democrats out, hollowing the party from within,
building towards political independence and tearing apart the Democratic Party.
The DSA is not here to strengthen the Democratic Party. It is here to consume it.
We're not here to make the Democrats a little bit better. We're here to actually enact socialism. And socialism is not just better capitalism. It's overthrowing the entire capitalist state.
It's our duty, DSA, to cultivate this power.
The cuckoo is in the nest, and New York City is poised to elect not a Democrat, but Zohran Mamdani, an extremist within the DSA.
We understand that winning an election is not an end. It is a means to an end.
The most important thing that we can do is take that empire down from within.
Ultimately to overthrow our own empire.
We need a movement that can drive a stake through the heart of the empire.
We need to orient ourselves towards insurrection.
Yeah, so that video, I think, is a perfect explanation of exactly what I'm talking about, okay? This is a Trojan horse, right? These socialists, people like Zohran Mamdani, it's a Trojan horse in the Democrat Party. And Kathy Hochul fell for it, right? She endorsed this guy. And that might be the end of her career. Seriously. Shock poll. Trump loyalist, Elise Stefanik, best Kathy Hochul in New York governor's race. Let's read here. Again, this is bombshell. The high-profile congresswoman who has established herself as one of President Donald Trump's most loyal allies in Washington over the last few years would beat incumbent New York Governor Kathy Hochul in a hypothetical matchup between the two women, according to a shocking new poll. According to the survey with the conservative Manhattan Institute, Stefanik leads Hochul by 1 point, 43 to 42% among registered voters. The same poll found that Stefanik would beat Lieutenant Governor Antonio Delgado, who is mounting a primary challenge to Hochul, by 6 points. Wow. So what you have here is Elise Stefanik beating Kathy Hochul in this poll, which is totally believable because Kathy Hochul had a hard time beating Lee Zeldin. Lee Zeldin gave her a run for her money, right, when he ran for governor. So you have the lieutenant governor, who is a far leftist, right, even more far left than Hochul, okay? He is getting beat by even more, okay, if he ends up beating Hochul in the primary. So, again, what I was telling you guys in regards to how this is going to play out for Democrats is actually happening. They're going to struggle in general elections if the socialists are going to be at the top of the ticket. And if these establishment Democrats get in bed with the socialists, because they're going to be tainted, right, with the socialist label, right? It gets even worse. An internal poll released by a Stefanik connected PAC earlier this month found that the congresswoman trailed Hochul by 5 points, 48% to 43%. Notably, it also found that Stefanik actually prevailed 46.4% to 45.9% when respondents were informed that Hochul had endorsed Zohran Mamdani, the controversial favorite to win this year's New York City mayor contest. Wow. Wow. So what you have here are two polls that are bombshell. You got one poll, again, from the Manhattan Institute, that basically has Elise Stefanik beating Hochul and the lieutenant governor outright, okay, in a race, in a general election. The internal poll by Super PAC connected to Elise Stefanik found that, okay, she might be trailing Hochul right now by 5 points, which is not a lot. Again, when you're talking about a deep blue state like New York, right, a Republican trailing by 5 points, that's not a lot, okay? That's not a lot. We're not talking about a swing state here, okay? We're talking about a deep blue state. But when the respondents were informed that Hochul endorsed Zohran Mamdani, endorsed a socialist, Stefanik won, which tells you everything you need to know. It backs up everything that I've been telling you guys over the past couple of days, that these socialists are going to lose these general elections, and Democrats associated with these socialists are going to be smeared. They're going to be tainted, right, by their endorsement of these socialists. And in general elections, they're going to struggle. They're going to struggle. And as I said a few days ago, when I first covered the story about Kathy Hochul embarrassing herself at the socialist rally, I said she deserves to lose. She deserves to lose just for endorsing the socialists. I mean, her policies are the primary reason why she deserves to lose. But the fact that she got on stage and bent the knee to the far left, she deserves to lose. And lo and behold, you have polling that is indicating that, yeah, in a general election, because of her endorsement of Zohran Mamdani, voters would much rather have a Republican than a Democrat that endorses a socialist. But you got the Democrat Party, they're lining up to endorse these lunatics, right? So, again, this poll right here is pretty devastating. We're still a year out, okay? There's still some time, but this is not good, right? This is not good for the Democrats. It's great for Republicans, okay? But not good for Democrats. Stefanik is widely expected to jump into the gubernatorial race, but has not formally begun her campaign. Her congressional campaign released the following statement on the Manhattan Institute poll. Quote, in a heavily Democrat-leaning state, an independent poll that is heavily weighted towards registered Democrat voters shows Republican Elise Stefanik leading Democrat Governor Kathy Hochul in a head-to-head matchup. This marks the first time in decades that any potential Republican gubernatorial candidate, and in this case, the likely nominee, is polling ahead of a Democrat incumbent governor even before any official announcement. in a decision that she will come to regret. Kathy Hochul lives up to her title as the worst governor in America when she chose to bend the knee and to put New Yorkers last by desperately endorsing the defund the police, tax hiking, raging anti-Semite socialist Zohran Mamdani, who will destroy New York. Kathy Hochul and single-party Democrat rule have failed New York, making it the most unaffordable state in the country with the highest taxes, energy, utility, rent, and grocery bills, making it unaffordable to raise a family, work, and start a business. New Yorkers of all political parties are hungry for new common sense leadership after decades of Hochul's failed single-party Democrat rule. Elise Stefanik and the people of New York can and will win this righteous fight to save New York. Yeah, so basically she's indicating that she's probably going to run, right? And if she runs, yeah, New York could flip red, right? It can flip red because the Democrats decided to get in bed with socialists. Amazing, absolutely amazing. Again, I personally was like, well, maybe the socialists will be able to win general elections in deep blue states, right? Like New York. But apparently, according to this poll, that might not be true, okay? That these individuals, these radical lunatics are so unpopular that even in deep blue states like New York, Republicans have a chance to win general elections if socialists are at the top of the ticket for Democrats. Yeah, this is devastating. This is absolutely devastating. This is what Democrats get. This is what they get. This is what Trump derangement has led them to. They said, we're so Trump deranged that we'll get in bed with lunatics, with communists. We will get in bed with communists before they agree with Trump on anything. And because of that, the communists are eating the Democrat Party. They're eating the party. And when they win these primary elections and they get in these general elections, they're going to lose. And any Democrat that's associated with these communists and these socialists is going to have a hard time. Even in some of these, again, more blue-leaning states, they're going to have a hard time. This is an absolutely devastating poll that, again, it is a huge warning sign for the Democrat Party. So, again, we got a year, right? We still have some time, okay, before the midterms. But I'm just saying that this poll right here backs up my thesis about how Democrats bending the knee to the far left, it's going to hurt them in the long run. It's not going to be good for the Democrat Party, for them, okay, to succumb to these radical lunatics. But that seems to be the path that they've chosen. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.